Alright guys, what's up? This is the second version of the Zombie World deck profile. If you haven't seen it already on my channel, I've made the more explosive version of this deck. It is there. This is the more control-based version of the deck. It basically prevents your opponent from playing, and it has actually a decent amount of versatility going second, but I guess let's just get into it. If you want to see the more combo-based explosive version, it's on my channel already. Start off with 3 copies of Shiranui Solitaire. Basically this effect, you tribute it in order to special summon the Unizombie here. And Unizombie lets you send a zombie from your deck to the graveyard by increasing a monster on the field's level by 1, or, which includes itself, or you can increase a monster on the field by 1 and then send a card from your hand to the graveyard, which is really good there. And then the other target for the Shiranui Solitaire is the Glow Up Bloom. You can summon this again off of Shiranui Solitaire, or you could just send it to the graveyard with Unizombie. Basically, with this card, if you have Zombie World on the field, you can special summon a level 5 or higher zombie from your deck, and if you don't have it, you can add it to your hand, which is really cool. And as soon as it hits the graveyard, basically, it banishes itself for cost, then you get to do that effect. Next, we've got Necroworld Banshee. This is another card that you want to send off of Unizombie, because basically you send this to the graveyard off of Unizombie, and it lets you can banish this card from the field or graveyard in order to activate a Zombie World directly from your deck. So that's one effect. And then if this card is face up on the field, you can basically, Zombie World is protected. It can't be destroyed by card effects, which is pretty cool. Then we've got 2 copies of Doom King Balderok. This is the main monster you will be summoning off of the Glow Up Bloom. But this card is just amazing. It's really kind of like the heart and soul of the deck. It makes the deck what it is. Basically, when this card is in the graveyard and there's a field spell on the field, either yours or your opponent's, it doesn't even have to be Zombie World, you can special summon this card from the graveyard for free during your standby phase. And then on top of that, when a zombie activates its effect anywhere, you can activate this card and either negate that effect or banish a zombie monster in the graveyard or on the field. And remember, because of Zombie World, everything in both players' graveyards and fields is all zombies, so you can basically banish a monster anywhere. And it's really cool because it lets you negate stuff like that. Next, we play 1 copy of Hela, Generaider Boss of Doom. This card is really good in Zombie World. It's a card that you can summon off of the Glow Up Bloom, but this card is insane because it lets you tribute a generator or a zombie, so either itself or any other zombie. It's a quick effect, and then you can special summon a zombie from the graveyard. It's like a Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon quick effect. And what else is awesome about this card is it lets you dodge around a bunch of various things. It lets you dodge around Call by the Grave, because like let's say they try to Call by the Grave Doom King, you can activate Hela, tribute a zombie, and then special summon Doom King, and it just got around Call by the Grave. It lets you get around a few other things. I describe it in my other video, my other combo-based Zombie World video. But yeah, this card is a beautiful addition to the deck. Then, because this is a control deck, we play 1 Vampire Fräulein. This card, basically, when your opponent attacks, you get to special summon it, and then it basically, you pay life points and then gain that much attack or defense, so it's really cool for that. It lets you block attacks. For a control deck, this is very good because it can come in handy to block several attacks. Your opponent isn't going to have many monsters or spells or traps or anything for that matter, because you're going to be able to prevent them from doing pretty much anything, and then summoning this and attacking over whatever they do have is very important. Then we play, and this card's never really a brick, like drawing this is never really a problem because you can just use it. It's beneficial that you search it off of the Glow Up Bloom, but I mean, it really doesn't matter. Like, drawing this is just not really that scary. It's actually perfectly okay. We play 1 copy of Mizuki and 1 copy of Gozuki. These are kind of like utility zombies we just kind of keep in there for various reasons. Then we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. These are just zombies that are also negations, and they of course work on your opponent's turn, because this particular variant of the deck really wants to go first. So if you can have as many interruptions on your opponent's turn, it's just ideal. So we've got the 3 Ash Blossoms, we've got 2 Ghost Bells to also play around not only Orcus but like Call by the Grave. And then we've got, this is kind of a surprise one in the main deck, 2 copies of Nibiru. This card's very good in this particular deck because tributing your entire field isn't, like, even if you go first, which the majority of the time you will want to go first, tributing your field doesn't really matter because your monsters have secondary effects in the graveyard anyway. So, like, let's say you have like 2 traps face down, zombie world, and maybe a Doom King. Like, even if you activate Nibiru and tribute your Doom King, it really doesn't matter because the Doom King's going to come back the following turn regardless, and you got to tribute all of their monsters as they were trying to set up. And then, of course, you have all of the other interruptions face down. The majority of your end boards will look something like this. You just have a Vampire Sucker and a Doom King. Like, that is the majority. And then you have maybe a Hand Trap and like 2 trap cards face down in Zombie World. That's the majority of your end boards, like almost every single time. So it really doesn't matter if you tribute that stuff because you can always get it back anyway. And as a matter of fact, you get it back for free. So that is all of the monsters. Then we go to the spell cards. We got 3 copies of Zombie World. This basically makes all of your monsters, your opponent's monsters, all zombies. It's a great interruption. It's great against decks like Salamangreats and Thunder Dragons and Cyber Dragons, cards that rely on their monsters being a certain type because it just changes their type to zombie and then they can't do half their effects. So then we've got the Super Polymerization. This comboed with our good friend Zombie World makes for an insane Super Poly play into Draco Nether Soul Dragon. That card is broken because basically this turns every monster into a zombie. Then you activate Super Polymerization, they can't respond, and you summon into that. It's like non-targeting removal with 2 monsters. It doesn't matter what their monster started out as, but in the end you get a monster of 3,000 attack and they lose both their monsters. We've got 3 copies of Instant Fusion. I don't really like the Call by the Grave package. I would rather play the Instant Fusion package with various Instant Fusion targets because it basically does Millenniumizer Strike basically does the exact same thing, except you eventually have to link it away. But with Master Rule 5 coming, I think it'll be even better without it, so it doesn't really matter. We've got 1 Foolish Burial. Send any monster to the graveyard, whatever we need. Necro Banshee or Glow of Bloom, whatever we need, or Mizuki. Now for the traps, we play 3 copies of Shiranui Swallow Slash. Basically, this card, you tribute 1 zombie. Again, we don't really care about tributing. Tribute 1 zombie and then target 2 cards on the field and destroy them. And then afterwards, you banish a Shiranui card from your deck. We don't play the... We have it here, but we don't play it. The Shiranui Spirit Master, if you wanted to, you could play this. Basically, you can also banish this card, and when you banish this card, it lets you pop another card. So you basically could pop 3 cards if you wanted to. It gives you an additional sort of pop, but I don't know, it kind of eats up a little bit of space that I don't really want to take up, because it's not really useful in hand. But yeah, this is a really good card, because it lets you end phase, pop whatever you want. It gives you additional disruptions, which is really scary. And we play 3 copies of Rivalry of the Warlords. Rivalry is another amazing card. So basically, you and your opponent can only control 1 type of monster. For you, it's no big deal because your entire deck is virtually all zombies. But because Zombie World makes everything on the field zombies, and in the graveyard zombies, your opponent basically, let's say they're playing a non-zombie based deck, which is the majority of decks in the meta. If they have a non-zombie based deck, if they normal summon any monster and you have Zombie World on the field, you just flip Rivalry, and now they're locked into only summoning zombies. So that means from their extra deck, their hand, their regular deck, they cannot summon a monster that's not a zombie. So they're just locked in basically that 1 monster and nothing else, which is a pretty crazy scenario. And then more than likely they're going to end phase, and then you can activate something like this and pop, or you can activate one of your own zombie effects during the end phase and then activate Doom King to banish their 1 monster, and they're basically out of resources there, and then you just win the next turn. Then we play 3 copies of the Eradicator Epidemic Virus. This is yet another card with Doom King that you can use. Basically, you tribute Doom King, call spells or traps, and then destroy all of them. Very good against other control decks, very good against things like Altergeist, Sky Strikers, because when you can get rid of, obviously there are recovery plays for those decks, but if you can get rid of 5 or 6 of their spell or trap-based deck, and you get rid of 5 trap cards, or you get rid of 4 trap cards, it still hurts them quite a bit, because it's very difficult to come back from that when going second. So that is the entire main deck, and now let's go into the extra deck. Play 1 Vampire Sucker, probably bump that up to 2 eventually. 1 Avenged Savior. This card basically lets you have some more options going second, I'd say. 1 Link Karibo. This is for Glow Up Bloom and the Thousand Eyes and Millennium Eyes, so we could just get out of those whenever we wanted to. Nightmare Phoenix. Get rid of spell and trap cards. Maybe a Floodgate that stops us, something like a... what is it called? There can only be one. Then we play all of the instant fusion targets. Just give me a second to rearrange those. Play all of the instant fusion targets, which is a Reaper of the Nightmare. Basically, it's a beautiful one because it lets you attack directly and then take a card from their hand and discard it randomly. Now, you got to be careful with that. This card, obviously, if you summon directly off of instant fusion, it can't attack. But what you can do is use it off of instant fusion. It is a zombie, and then you can link it away for something like a Vampire Sucker, and then you can bring it back with like a Mizuki, draw a card off a Vampire Sucker, and then you can attack directly because it counts as like a new monster. So it's good for that. Then we play 1000 Eyes Restrict. This is why I like the instant fusion package, because it gives you a lot more versatility than the just playing Called by the Graves in your deck, because you can basically get a free zombie, you can steal an opponent's monster, you can have a Called by the Grave on wheels, or you can have a card that stops it basically prevents your cards from being targeted if they have the same attribute as this card, and this card can change its attribute. So either way, like no matter what you do, this has more versatility than just running a Call by the Grave. So I'd rather run this package, and then on top of it, it gives you a body on the board, which is far more impressive overall. So we've got all of those, and then of course Mud Dragon is also a super poly target on top of being an instant fusion target. So then we move on, we play 1 copy of Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, 1 Warlord Furious Dragon, Predaplant, the triple-headed one, Predaplant, Draco Stepophia, Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, Diplexer Chimera. These are all more or less going second or interruption-based super poly targets. So basically, if your opponent's trying to build a board, or if they've already built a board, these are great against those decks, and they're all good against their own thing. This is good against Orcust and Dark decks in general. This is good against Salamangreats. This is good against Thunder Dragons, Dark decks of any kind, Guard Dragon decks, Pendulum decks. This is good against Subterrors. So it's basically got a little bit of everything against everybody, which is really good. And this is the last one. It's super generic. It's Draco, Necro, Nether Soul Dragon, which is any 2 zombie monsters. And of course, we've got the zombie world that ensures that will always go through and work appropriately, because everything will become zombies on their side of the field, and you can basically take away anything of theirs. But that is basically it. That is the control-based version of this deck. If you want to see a more explosive version of this deck, you can check it out on the channel. It's already probably been uploaded by the time this video is up. So that is it. Thank you for watching, and enjoy your day.